mysterious murder carried out in plain sight.
What exactly is happening?
A crime scene devoid of clues.
There is no evidence of any kind. We've got zip.
Who is this person? Why was he shot? It's so random.
The unfortunate S word comes into play. Sniper.
In order to hunt down an assassin, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is determined to leave no stone unturned.
We're looking at 1,501 locations where our man could be. We have to find out what is going on here. He has the power of life and death in his hands. When you decide to take a life, you better consider what you're about to do. Because me, or someone just like me, is going to consider it and come knocking. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved over 387 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
In Colorado Springs, U.S. Army Private Regina Loney is coming off an overnight shift at Fort Carson.
It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She's listening to her music and driving home.
She looks across the street, sees a young man walking along. Then they wave to each other and acknowledge each other as neighbors do.
All of a sudden, he grabbed his stomach, bent over, and fell to the ground.
You're right?
He's writhing in pain, and she's thinking, well, did he trip? Did he have some stomach issues or a heart attack? So she rushes over there.
Oh my God. Get my wife.
He kept saying over and over, "Please get my wife, please get my wife."
Somebody else. Get my wife.
Meanwhile, at CSPD headquarters, Detective Joe Kenda is stuck in a meeting.
I was going through my annual evaluation where your immediate supervisor gives you basically a report card on his opinion of your performance.
I know it's a yearly thing, but we've got to get through it.
I was quite certain of myself as to what kind of job I was doing, and it wasn't of any particular interest to me what was being put on a piece of paper.
But no sooner has the evaluation begun than an officer interrupts with an urgent message.
Excuse me, Captain. Detective, there's been an incident.
I thought the timing was excellent.
Looks like I need to go to work. Okay, we will finish this up later.
I consider meetings a weapon of mass distraction. Why are we going to have a meeting and sit around and talk about the work? I would much rather just do the work.
Moments later, Kenda arrives at the 3700 block of Airport Road.
The area where this incident occurred is a commercial district filled with businesses, bars, restaurants, heavy traffic. People are busy being busy. No one's paying a lot of attention to us.
So what do we got? White male. Victim was down here. He's been transported by EMS already. Was he still alive? He was still alive, yeah. Do you know his name? William Larimore.
Well, this guy's name is William Larimore. He's 22 years of age.
Kenda surveys the crime scene. Right away, it strikes him as odd.
So I'm looking at this, and there's nothing. There's no blood. There's no ricochet marks. There's no tire tracks. There's no expended casings. There is no evidence of any kind except medical waste blowing slightly in the breeze. We have a scene that isn't a scene.
According to responding officers, EMTs discovered a bullet-sized puncture wound in Larmore's stomach. It appears Kenda has a shooting on his hands.
We have a 22-year-old gunned down on a city street by a phantom. Could this be a drive-by? Could this be somebody in a van or a car driving by and shooting this guy? That's a possibility. One of the first steps in any investigation is, how do we know about this? Who called this in and what do they know about it? I'm introduced to a woman named Regina Loney.
Did you see anything or anyone suspicious either before or after he was on the ground?
No. I really wish I had.
How many gunshots did you hear?
She looked at me like, gunshots? No, I didn't hear anything.
Regina states that she was only 30 feet from William when he went down. Kenda wonders how she couldn't have heard the gunshots.
Well, some people have never heard a gunshot before. It's kind of a shock. And she stopped me and said,
I'm the Army and Range qualified.
now that's really interesting because we have a qualified witness who knows what a gunshot is. She didn't hear one. We didn't hear anything. And we're talking about distance. Guns are loud, and they are easily heard. They're much louder in reality than they are in the movies. So if we truly didn't hear that, then our shooter is a long way from where this guy is. So the unfortunate S word comes into play, the one you never want to hear when you're a policeman: sniper. We're dealing with something we've never dealt with before. Where is that sniper's nest? Where is the place where he shoots from? We're looking at 500 windows on the south side of the road. We're looking at over 1,000 windows on the north side of the road. So we have a minimum of 1,501 locations where our man could be.
You guys want to go knock on some doors, see if anyone saw or heard anything?
Sure.
Thanks.
Just canvassing the neighborhood and trying to see if there's anybody that could have been standing at the windows.
Anybody else that lives here that might have seen anything in this apartment?
Our problem is we have a limited number of people that do the knocking, and we have literally hundreds of doors.
As his men search in vain for eyewitnesses, Kenda gets a call from the hospital.
Dispatch to Kenda.
Go for Kenda.
William Larmore is being prepped for surgery. If Kenda wants to question him, he has to leave now.
10-4, I'm on the way.
Now all of a sudden it becomes even more urgent. So I went to the hospital to find Mr. Larmore. He's shot in the stomach. That's generally not something that's going to cause you to lose consciousness or lose coherence.
How's he doing?
It's not looking too good. I do believe he's able to talk about it.
What we're hoping he's going to say to us is that he has some kind of an enemy. He's had a recent confrontation. He's had trouble with someone. Something that gives us a direction in which to proceed.
The doctor allows Kenda a few short minutes with William.
I'm Detective Kenda. I need to find out who did this to you, so I'm going to ask you a few questions. Is that okay?
Yeah. Are you involved with anybody? Do you have problems? Are you fighting with your wife? Does your wife have a boyfriend? Anything? And it was no to everything. Everything's just fine. Well, it's not really fine. We're here in this hospital and somebody shot you in the stomach.
But then, William gives Kenda his first lead.
After it hit the ground, there's a gray van.
He does remember seeing a gray van. Okay, that's something. That's the first time anybody has seen anything. So the gray van, in my mind, becomes significant. If the gray van is involved, then we're probably talking about a shot fired from the van.
We need to go now.
As William is wheeled into surgery, Kenda issues an APB for the mysterious gray van.
We make sure all of our officers doing canvassing be in the alert for a gray van, find anybody you saw a gray van, find anybody you're talking to owns a gray van, look for them in parking lots of these multi-family buildings.
10-4, Kenda out. Am I staying with Mr. Larmore? Updating on his condition? Yes, sir.
In the meantime, Kenda heads to the waiting room, where he hopes a friend or family member has a lead to offer.
There's a young girl who's in tears and is very distraught, having difficulty breathing. I discover she's Donna Larmore, the wife of the victim. She's pregnant. Now maybe she has a dead husband. Maybe she's starting out life on exactly the wrong foot.
Mrs. Larmore?
Yeah.
I'm Detective Kenda.
You try to be especially nice.
I'm very sorry about what's happened. I want to make sure we find out who did this.
But you cannot be nice enough to overcome what's happening in her life at this moment.
Can you tell me a little bit about William?
We find out that he is a cook.
Billy is my twin brother and my best friend. He is trying to become a chef. He loved working in restaurants.
So he doesn't have a car. His wife has a car, but he lets her use the car in case she needs to go to the doctor.
Does he normally get out at 3 o'clock?
No, it's usually later, but, yeah, I wasn't feeling good. I had some stomach cramps, and he was just, worried something was wrong with the baby.
Donna explains it's not the first time the couple has experienced complications with a pregnancy.
No, he wanted kids so bad, and he tried so many times to have a child. They unfortunately lost, I want to say, 2 or 3 children. Miscarriages. It was just heart-wrenching.
She called him and said that he better come home. So he immediately left work and walked home. That's his crime, walking home.
Sweetest guy, I just don't know who would do something like this to him.
Well, if you can think of anything else, you need to give me a call. Anytime.
When you see this little girl, pregnant and crying, all her husband's doing is walking home from work because she's having stomach cramps, and maybe he's gonna die. Well, who is the son of a bitch responsible for this? So here we are. We've got zip. We have no physical evidence to observe.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda is working the attempted murder of 22-year-old soon-to-be father, William Larmore, who has been inexplicably shot in broad daylight.
Nobody hears, nobody sees. If the victim sees a gray van, what's that have to do with this? Could this be a drive-by?
Having issued an APB on the gray van, Kenda heads back to the crime scene, where officers have found a possible lead on that van.
Well, you had us for the gray van? Yeah, well, meet this lady here. We find a young girl named Jill Hendricks. Jill lives in the area, obviously, very close to where this occurred.
How you doing?
Good.
Can you tell me what you saw today?
I was in my front yard.
Jill tells Lieutenant Kenda that as she was walking across the apartment's parking lot, carrying laundry, she saw a neighbor run up to a man groaning on the ground.
I need some help!
A minute later, a gray van pulled up.
Somebody help!
She sees a woman get out of a car and go to his side.
Call 911! Oh, God. Is he okay?
And that there were kids in this car. She tried to comfort him.
Be okay.
This is most likely the van William sees. So now this lets the air out of the gray van. We've lost our only lead. I'm back to the dreaded S word. Sniper. So we're going to proceed on that theory and see if we can find anybody that sees anybody with a gun.
I appreciate the help.
No sooner has he wrapped up than Kenda's radio crackles with urgent news.
Go for Kenda.
I get notified at the scene by a detective at the hospital that they pronounced Larmore on the operating table. He died from his wound. We've gone from a serious crime to the ultimate crime. It puts another sense of urgency to this.
When I learned of Billy's death, it was like somebody shot a hole right in my heart. I don't feel I'm the same as I was. A part of me was taken.
Though William died in surgery, he did leave behind one pivotal piece of evidence: the bullet that killed him.
The bullet is positively identified as a .22 long rifle. There are hundreds of calibers of weapons. Now we're down to only one. This is somebody a long way away with a .22 long rifle weapon.
Identifying the make of the murder weapon isn't the only good news. In their continued search for eyewitnesses, Kenda's men have located a resident whose home sits adjacent to a vacant lot on Airport Road. The man tells them that he heard several loud bangs around the time William Larmore was shot.
We want to search this field. We want to search it while it's still daylight. It's tedious work, but necessary, because you never know what's under a rock until you pick it up.
Finally, the search of the nearly 2-acre lot pays off.
Think I got something, Joe?
We find expended casings, .22 long rifle.
Take these evidence? Sure thing. Thanks.
From the point where that case was found to the point where the victim was found being shot was 150 yards, which would indicate a long sniper shot.
That's further than a football field. If you're going to shoot at him, this would be a very good place to do it from.
But to connect on a long shot like this would take a true marksman, possibly with a military background.
With a shot of 150 yards with a .22 caliber rifle, that's a tough shot.
This shooter would have to either be an expert shot, have a weapon with a telescopic sight, know how to adjust for windage and elevation, know how to adjust for bullet drop, or he has to be the luckiest shooter in the world.
But who would target a man like William Larmore for an execution-style murder? Kenda is hopeful William's next-door neighbor might be able to shed some light on the victim's personal life. A young man named Steve Green answers.
He seems to know more than most about the Larmores.
They've been here for a while, and they stayed pretty quiet. Pleasant couple.
He's very friendly, and he's helpful. He said the Larmores are nice people.
Can you think of anyone that might want to harm them or someone they didn't get along with?
Well, there's a guy that stays with them.
And this guy, you know his name?
Yeah, it's Jeff Reynolds.
According to Steve Green, Jeff Reynolds is a corporal in the Army, steeped in weapons training.
They have this occasional roommate that stays there off and on that there's been some trouble with.
He stays there, but he never really pays.
They said that seems to be a problem.
Last week was a pretty big blow-up. A lot of yelling.
Listen, my pregnant wife is cleaning up your stuff right now. Yeah, I understand that, but you're not coming up with rent right now. You're gonna have to go. I don't know what kicked me out. I don't know what it's not. Okay, you're gonna have to leave.
The roommate is as likely as anyone to be a suspect in the case. He's military trained. He's obviously a marksman. What if he decides for whatever reason that he hates Larmore now and he's gonna take him out?
I appreciate the help.
Hey, thank you. Thanks.
Kenda heads to William's apartment, hopeful that Jeff Reynolds is there.
When we were at the hospital, we had the wife sign a search waiver for her apartment. You never know what you're going to find in a victim's apartment. So the manager lets us into the apartment with the master key.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Right upstairs.
Okay. So we look around. There's no evidence of physical violence. There's no evidence of struggle. There's no evidence of arguments. No broken doors. No fist marks in doors. No shoe marks in doors.
Most importantly, Jeff Reynolds is nowhere to be found.
Find anything?
Nothing's clean up there. We're about to leave. And a guy appears in the doorway.
Can I help you?
I think I should be the one asking you that.
I'm Detective Kenda. Mind telling me who you are?
I'm Jeff Reynolds. I live here.
Well, Jeff, I'm with the Colorado Springs Police Department. Do you have any idea why we're here today?
Before he can answer, the manager comes back and looks at him somewhat alarmed and somewhat angry and says,
What are you still doing here? The Larmores wanted you gone.
Reynolds looked startled when she said that and looked not at her, but at me. What are you looking at me? I didn't tell you that, she did. You're looking at me because you didn't want me to hear that, did you? Here we are. We're poking in the dark, trying to find something. All of a sudden, a guy walks in. Who are you? Well, I'm Jeff Reynolds, a roommate.
A roommate who owed murder victim William Larmore money.
Can't come up with the rent, and you cannot live here. We've been through this too many times, Jeff.
And who, just days earlier, Larmore had kicked out of the apartment they shared
There's the door.
with William's pregnant wife.
And quite magically, he moves from being just a roommate to being a suspect in a matter of a few minutes.
You get to thinking, well, could this be a possible motive? Could this be our killer?
What exactly are you doing here, Jeff?
I'm just here getting some of my stuff.
Are you aware that William was killed earlier today?
Yeah, I just spoke with his wife.
And how do you know the Larmores?
Well, actually, I know him. We were friends on the East Coast, and I said to him, you should come to Colorado Springs. It's a cool place.
Billy was happy to move to Colorado. Seemed like it changed him, made him happy. You know, it was like a whole new atmosphere for him.
He let me move in with him, but I was really strapped for cash.
He has no money, and they can't survive on what he's making in the Army. He is staying with the Larmores as much as he can because he really can't afford to stay anywhere else.
Listening to Jeff Reynolds, Kenda can tell he's holding back.
He doesn't want to say there's been confrontations between he and Larmore about his non-payment. And we start to get in his face a little bit.
From what I heard, you had a big blowout with him recently.
Yeah, I wasn't able to pay my rent. I borrowed a lot of money from William.
Do you have a friend this month?
Don't do this to me, please.
Jeff Reynolds told the investigators, well, yeah, he had kicked me out, and it was over a money issue, and I told him that I would be paying you back shortly.
Okay, so you have these problems, and you say you resolved them. Well, how'd you do that?
He was able to show police a contract that he had made with the Larmores.
So this little contract he wrote said when he gets his discharge papers, he's going to pay them back for all the money he owes them.
So tell me you had nothing to do with his murder.
Absolutely not. William was like a brother to me.
Jeff is becoming more and more insistent that he's not responsible for any of this. He's friends with those people. He's almost to the point of tears.
Although Jeff Reynolds' reaction seems genuine, Kenda won't cross him off the suspect list until Jeff can confirm his whereabouts at the time of the shooting.
Where were you the past 2 hours?
I was at the Army base applying for my discharge.
Can we check that out?
So we call his commanding officer, wind up speaking with his first sergeant. During the time frame of the shooting, he is going through this application process.
It looks like everything checks out.
He is not our guy. So we've gone from what seemed like a promising suspect to no suspect at all.
Thanks for your time.
No problem.
Okay, it's not him. Him is still out there. So let's go find him.
Kenda orders his men to redouble their search of the area. Within the hour, they unearth a new lead.
The officers doing this canvass meet a guy named Harold Stevens.
It was about 2 o'clock. The wife and I were heading out to the car.
He had seen 2 juvenile individuals there.
Can you describe these kids for me?
They're about 14, 16 years old. One was wearing a red windbreaker. The other one had a gray hoodie on, carrying rifle cases.
Now we got something. We have a witness who sees something involving rifles. And that is what we're looking for.
Where were they heading?
As soon as they saw me, they took off running to the vacant field next door.
The field Harold Stevens is describing is the same one where Kenda's men found the .22 caliber rifle casings just a few hours earlier.
What if they're in that field shooting one of these guns, and one of those bullets winds up in Mr. Larmore's stomach?
All right, go ahead and call that in.
10-4.
Kenda issues a bolo. Be on the lookout for 2 teens matching the description given by Harold Stevens.
Possibly carrying rifle, gun cases.
With every on-duty patrolman in Colorado Springs now searching for his suspects, Kenda returns to the scene of the crime.
This girl, go ahead.
So I'm standing in the field considering what our next move is when Officer Reeve gets in touch with me.
Just got a call from Officer Reeves at the juvenile center. Says he got a kid there that knows something about the shooting.
Now let's go talk to him.
Officer Reeve informs Kenda that the kid in question is a teenager named Arthur, an occasional informant.
So I spot Arthur, bringing him in on some other charges, and he brings up the shooting, just like that.
His name is Arthur Daniels. He's wanted on a misdemeanor bench warrant for trespassing. He said, hey, I know about that shooting out on Airport Road.
Has this guy been helpful in the past?
Yeah, he actually has on numerous occasions.
Daniels has been an informant for him in the past, and he's given him, in his estimation, reliable information.
All right, well, he's your guy. You want to find out what he knows?
Yes, sir.
I was watching him through the window, and I'm listening to what the kid has to say.
So you said you knew something about this shooting. What do you know?
Yeah, Daniels says, oh man, I want to give any names because then I'm a snitch.
Come on, you got it in you.
So Reeve plays with him for a while and finally convinces him to tell him.
So, we were in the car.
He had been in the area waiting for some friends to come pick him up. They were going to go to the park and play some football.
And he gets in the car with them, and as they go around the corner, they see the police and they see emergency medical people, and they see this guy on the ground.
One of the individuals in the car was a person he identified only as Bug.
Dude named Bug. He said he did it. Said he shot the guy.
Hey man, see, I got him, I told you.
Bug says, I'm a sniper, man. Amazing. Now we're not only in the right ballpark, we're in the right row. We have a kid named Bug who is a shooter. Wow. We're starting out with this case going nowhere. All of a sudden, we're going everywhere.
At the Colorado Springs Juvenile Detention Center, Lieutenant Joe Kenda observes as Officer Reeve questions 16-year-old Arthur Daniels. Daniels claims another teenager, nicknamed Bug, is the one who shot William Larmore. But there's a problem with Arthur's statement.
So how do you know Bug?
I don't really know him. I just know people call him Bug.
He says, well, I don't know his name. I know everybody calls him Bug. He says he's a sophomore at this high school. That's a start. I've got a named suspect, nickname true, but named nonetheless. And the magic word sniper is used in the explanation.
But Arthur Daniels isn't finished. He also tells Officer Reeve that as he and his friends headed toward the park to play some football, Bug gave him a handful of live bullets.
He was like, throw him out the window.
Okay, what else happened?
Officer Reeve presses Arthur Daniels for more intel.
Come on, man. Who's Bug? You just kind of know him. You don't know his real name.
I don't even know him, honestly. Like, he was just in the car.
He was afraid that if he gave Bug up for the shooting, that Bug would harm him.
But after some prodding, Arthur Daniels does offer up the names of the 3 other young men who were in the car.
It was Johnny, Reggie, and Fish.
The first step is to find out if there's any truth in this at all before we even approach these other kids. Did he throw live ammunition out of the car? Let's go find the bullets.
one. There's two more right there.
We find it where he says he put it. Several 22 long rifle live rounds at the curb, discarded in the street.
The shells are the same as the casings found in the field.
So that works. So Daniels has moved up from being an informant to being a good informant. It is proof enough to me that those three kids he named are in fact in that car. Now we have to get to these other people and find out what they know.
While investigators round up Arthur's three friends, Kenda catches up on the autopsy report.
Let's take a look.
The bullet is recovered.
Look at that. 22 caliber. Just like the shells.
Yes, sir, it's showing a downward entry with no exit.
22 long rifle. This is a downward angle into the lower stomach. It cuts his liver in the process, and that's what killed him.
Confirms long-range shot.
I believe we're out of the starting gate. I can't see the horse we're chasing yet, but I can hear him.
Let's go talk to those kids.
Yes, sir.
That afternoon, Arthur's friends arrive at the station for questioning, each accompanied by a parent.
If you are a juvenile, meaning you are less than 18 years of age in Colorado, then your parent and or legal guardian has to be present before any interrogation is conducted.
Kenda and his colleagues interview the teens separately.
Okay, so we know all about your friend Bug and the shooting the other night, so tell me what you know about it.
I don't know anybody named Bug.
There was no bug in the car.
I don't know anybody named Bug.
Are you still gonna stand by that you don't know this guy Bug?
I have no clue.
Reggie and Fish think they're playing hardball, but Kenda's men have an ace up their sleeve.
Look, don't tell me you were in the car. We found the bullets that Daniels threw out on Shelton Road. You remember that?
Arthur was one that threw out the bullets. Arthur, he dumped them out.
Did you see Arthur do this?
Yes.
And with that, both Reggie and Fish corroborate Arthur Daniels' statement, except for the most important part, the part about Bug.
Who? Bug.
Never heard of him.
I don't know what you're talking about. Both say Bug wasn't in the car. Who is Bug? I don't know who that is.
But in interrogation room 3, Kenda is working on the third young man Arthur Daniels identified, high school sophomore Johnny Gomez.
So you hear about the shooting, Johnny?
I got nothing to say about some shooting.
He is Mr. Bad Guy. He's a little kid. He's like 15 years old, and he's never been in a car, and
I don't know him.
who's Daniels and who's these other two guys.
How about a guy named Bug?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's just being an evasive little jerk. All of that's very common. Doing the right thing. That's all in the movies. They respond to pressure. Harm is going to come to them if they don't tell what they know. That is what works, and nothing else does.
Listen closely, Johnny. We're talking about being an accessory to murder. If you're lying to me, I'll make sure you do hard time and wake up an old man.
All of a sudden, their bravado starts to go away.
I didn't do no murder. It was just, we needed some money.
He says to me, finally, that he and a friend knew this guy, and they knew that he had guns in his apartment. 2 guns. He says he and his friend break into this guy's place, and they take these 2 guns, and they're in rifle cases. And one of them is green. Now, I'm listening to this, and I already know what Mr. Stevens told us. 2 kids with rifle cases, and one of them's green. Bingo. Now we're really getting somewhere. Now we are in overdrive.
What's your friend's name?
I'm thinking the whole time that his partner in crime is Bug, our man Bug. I said, so, Johnny, is your friend? What's his name?
Arthur Daniels.
No wonder nobody knows who Bug is. There is no Bug. or just our man Arthur? We start off with a man shot in the stomach by an unknown gun. 22-year-old kid, just starting out in life. He's about to have a baby. Why would this happen to you?
Teenage informant Arthur Daniels has identified a young man, nicknamed Bug, as William's killer. But as Lieutenant Joe Kenda questions 15-year-old Johnny Gomez, an entirely different picture begins to emerge.
So now we know a lot. We know there is no Bug, nor was there ever a Bug. We know that our man Arthur is our shooter.
Johnny is adamant Arthur Daniels delivered the shot that killed William Larmore. But is there a chance Johnny also took a shot at the victim? And if so, why?
This is Arthur. I didn't hurt anybody.
This is just getting started, Johnny.
So you stole guns with Arthur?
Yes. We just wanted to sell them. That's all.
Tell me what happened.
He said he wanted to try out the guns.
We gotta take some shots.
Nah.
Got to.
Bro, I gotta go. I got friends coming over. But I didn't stay. I left.
He was just a 16-year-old kid who had a weapon, who said, I'm gonna fire this weapon, maybe at some rabbits, see what it's like.
Johnny swears that after he left Arthur, he headed to his aunt's house. He hid the stolen gun in her storage locker. Shortly after that, his pals Fish and Reggie came by. A half hour later, Arthur came busting in.
Guys, I just shot somebody.
What?
I just shot somebody.
He's got the case in his hand with the gun in it, and he is scared to death. What's the matter? I just shot someone.
Here, come on. Let's go.
According to Johnny, they stashed Arthur's rifle within his aunt's storage locker, along with the other stolen weapon.
They arrive at the park,
I gotta get rid of these bullets.
and he throws ammunition out onto Chelton Road.
Johnny's story is a revelation, but is it true? Kenda instructs his men to tell Johnny's pals, Fish and Reggie, that Johnny has come clean.
Johnny's pretty much told my partner everything. So why don't you go ahead and get it off your chest and just tell us what happened.
This time, the boys spill it all.
He came back in, and he kept saying, I shot a man, I shot a man.
We all got out and got away from him.
Both Fish and Reggie corroborate every detail of Johnny Gomez's story.
Mr. Arthur Daniels, and no one else. And we know where the murder weapon is. It's in this woman's storage locker.
Kenda secures a search warrant for Johnny's aunt's storage unit.
There's a locker right there. No worries. Let me in there.
Multi-tool in hand, Kenda reveals a hidden talent.
Most of those storage lockers are not exactly a Wells Fargo bank. They are difficult to get into if you're a complete idiot. I opened the door as quickly as if I had a key.
There they are. You really hit the jackpot there once you get the weapons.
We're freshly fired.
We protect it for prints, we take it with us,
Let's get these back to the station.
and turn it into the lab for testing.
Ballistics tests prove one of the stolen guns was the one used to shoot and kill William Larmore. But since Arthur's a juvenile, Kenda can't elicit a confession from him without parental consent.
We don't know where his mother is. We think she's in Texas somewhere, but she's certainly not here. Father is here.
Mr. Daniels?
Yes?
I'm Detective Kenya. Your son Arthur has some information on a shooting that happened. We'd like to talk to him.
Basically, he tells us to drop dead.
And my boy ain't talking to no damn body without no lawyer.
Then he'll get to get a lawyer and get off my porch.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Go yourself.
Or maybe not.
So that ends. The possibility of a statement ends right there. He's invoked his son's rights.
But even without a statement, Kenda's got the evidence he needs to throw the book at Arthur Daniels.
Handcuffs, bum, done. Over. Goodbye. You're under arrest. No reaction at all. He didn't say a word or even look at us.
By now, Kenda has enough to piece together how a pair of kids with a couple of stolen guns escalated into murder.
I think Arthur is over there to shoot the gun because he's a kid. He's fast-headed, but a kid at that age who has never handled firearms very much has no idea what he's got in his hands. He has the power of life and death in his hands. He sees this guy from way off, way long way off. I bet you I can shoot that guy like they do in the movies. Is he doing so with every intent to kill this person? My response to that would be no, he isn't. Do I know that? No. I feel that. Bang! Guy falls down. Oh, no.
In his wildest dreams, would never have thought that he was going to actually hit anybody.
What's he do next? What kids always do next. He runs.
Arthur Daniels is tried and convicted for the first-degree murder of William Larmore. But after years of legal wrangling, the charges are reduced.
He was allowed to plead guilty to reckless manslaughter charge and was subsequently sentenced to an indeterminate to 10 years in a Color State Penitentiary.
Even with Arthur Daniels behind bars, for William Larmore's family, the pain has never gone away.
I can't say I got over his death. You never get over it. He's always there in memory.
This type of crime is frightful. You get an individual that is on his way home to assist his pregnant wife, and all of a sudden is shot for no reason. Arthur Daniels shot William for no reason whatsoever.
A reckless teenager who's in possession of a gun is probably more dangerous than the deadliest marksman. The deadliest marksman will kill for a reason. A reckless kid doesn't need a reason. He just needs to continue to be reckless.
Two innocent people gunned down for no apparent reason.
There is no forced entry into the residence.
3 shots were fired, and we have 2 deaths. They are either the luckiest shooter in the world, or they're really good at it.
After a vexing series of dead-end leads, Kenda is forced to employ a strategy of last resort.
They've already killed twice. They wouldn't hesitate to kill again. So I do something then that I rarely do.
In my career, I have never seen Kenda do this ever before.
I am life, and everything else is death. Make your choice. It's the saddest thing when an innocent person dies over nothing. Because it's never for anything. It's always for nothing. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
In the basement of the Brittany House apartment complex, maintenance man Frank Lee is fixing a broken water heater.
He hears a commotion when he's in the basement, and it's a fairly noisy apartment complex, and he didn't think anything about it. He continues working on the water heater.
But when Frank emerges from the basement, he finds a scene of complete chaos.
There were a lot of flashing red lights, and we hear sirens coming toward the complex.
Just really.
Guess what's going on?
No, looking at 21.
It seems that something terrible has happened in apartment 21.
He runs up there and he tries to get to the apartment.
Can't come in here right now, sir, okay?
The police stop him, but not before he sees two bodies laying on the floor.
A little over a mile away, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is on the scene of another crime.
Go for Kenda.
When this particular case came forward, I was working another shooting, and I had a team of detectives there.
Dispatch tells Kenda there's been an apparent double homicide.
10-4, Kenda out. You're gonna have to take this one, Butler. Make sure you get everything under control, and I'll be there as soon as I'm done here. On my way, sir.
I had trained Sergeant Butler for a period of several months to be a backup person in homicide call-out because I just can't be everywhere all the time.
Once Kenda determines that the victim of the first crime is going to survive, he breaks away and heads to the crime scene on Arvada Street.
This is a low-income housing area. There are lots of people in these buildings that have long criminal histories. When I arrived there, Butler had done exactly as I'd trained him.
Nice work, Butler. Thanks, Lieutenant. So what we got? Got two Vics, both pronounced on scene, and both have already been transported. You can take me to the officer that first went to the apartment? Yeah, I'll take you to him.
They find a woman who they identified as Colleen Johnson. She's 36 years old. She is the tenant of apartment 21. So from what the officer describes to me, Colleen Johnson died instantly. She didn't have a chance to move off that sofa. The sofa has very little blood, even though there's an exit wound, because she doesn't move very far and she's sitting upright, so gravity doesn't have an opportunity to drain the chest cavity of blood, so probably most of the blood is contained within her body.
The second victim is Luis Matos, a 29-year-old sales clerk.
Where'd they find him? Right there on the floor.
He has been shot twice, once in the upper shoulder with an exit wound and a central chest wound with no exit.
Kenda inspects the door for evidence of a break-in.
There's no damage to the door frame or to the door itself. Nobody kicked this door in.
Whoever did this must have known him. They didn't break the door in.
It's always extremely helpful when I get the feeling or the sense that the killer is known to these victims. From everyone to someone in their circle of acquaintances.
Looks like Lewis is on the couch when he got shot, too.
I look at the sofa spot next to her, and I see a bullet hole in the wall that would line up with Mr. Matos' shoulder if he was sitting next to her.
Any slugs? Yes, sir. One appeared to pass through him into the wall. The second was still in him, and the third was over there.
I look on the floor next to the sofa, and there is a slug with bullet wipe on the sides of it. So that's pretty obvious to me that that is the round that goes through Colleen and now winds up on the floor next to the sofa. When a bullet passes through a human body, it is at high temperature and moving at supersonic speed. So it produces blood, and the blood is literally seared onto the bullet by the heat. It's referred to as bullet wipe, but it's actually cooked blood.
Kenda also finds 3 expended casings on the floor.
So we have 3 shots fired.
380.
Pick up the casings. They're from a 380 semi-automatic or a 9mm Kurtz, short 9mm.
3 shots. This guy know how to use a gun.
I have seen crime scenes where 20 or 30 shots are fired in an 8 by 10 foot room and nobody even gets hit. Here we have 2 people sitting on a sofa, bang, 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 everybody's dead. They are either the luckiest shooter in the world or they're really good at it.
But it's likely the killer didn't set out to shoot both Luis Matos and Colleen Johnson.
Usually when you have a double homicide, there's one intended victim. If there are other victims, it's because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
The fact that the murder happened in Colleen's apartment leads Kenda to believe that she was the target.
The likelihood in my mind is great that Luis is collateral damage. Whoever came here was looking for Colleen Johnson.
In order to figure out who wanted Colleen dead, Kenda needs to learn everything he can about her.
Who does she spend her life with, and who has she been in contact in the last 48 hours that maybe made her look like this?
All right, let's go knock on some doors.
You know anything about the people upstairs?
No, I don't know anything.
Kenda's men have no luck with the first few neighbors. But in the complex's basement, they find maintenance man Frank Lee.
Frank?
Yeah.
Lieutenant Kenda. This is Detective Butler. We're investigating the shooting in apartment 21. Do you mind if we ask you a few questions?
Absolutely.
He says he knows Colleen, talks to her quite a bit.
In fact, Frank had just spoken with Colleen earlier that evening.
So you know her well?
Yes.
Can you tell me about her?
She was a good kid.
Well, she's a nice person. She's got financial problems, you know, like kind of we all do. But she works hard and she tries her best, and she just had some hard luck in her life.
What's her relationship with Lewis?
They were very close. She always talked to him about her trouble.
Trouble, you say? I like the T word. What kind of trouble? She's got this boyfriend. Oh, yeah? And what's his name? His name is Alvin, but everybody calls him Sarge. Because he's in the Army at Fort Carson. He said they're like oil and water, those two.
They just fought all the time, and you could hear it all throughout the whole apartment building.
Frank recalls Colleen has even called the police on Alvin.
Hello? Yeah, they report stolen property. His name is Alvin Bolden.
So if I'm looking for somebody, I certainly like a disgruntled boyfriend. He's been in the Army a long time. He's pretty familiar with guns. Probably pretty familiar with how to use them. 3 shots fired, 2 dead people. Alvin looks pretty good to me. at this point, we have two dead people, but I believe that one of them is the target, which is the resident, Colleen Johnson. And I find out she's got a disgruntled boyfriend in the Army. That's very convenient. So our focus now is Alvin, and where is he?
Kenda and Butler head to the U.S. Army base at Fort Carson for help in locating Colleen Johnson's boyfriend, Alvin Molden.
The Army maintains a unit called CID, Criminal Investigation Division, and they are the Detective Bureau of the U.S. Army. And they are extremely cooperative with us.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda, CSPD.
Hello, Lieutenant. How may I help you?
We're looking for a soldier named Alvin, between the ages of 37 and 40 years old.
Alvin Molden. Yes. One moment.
Bang, they produce him.
The CID escorts Kenda and Butler to Sergeant Alvin Molden's barracks.
At ease, Sergeant. This is Lieutenant Joe Kenda. He has a couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Alvin is cooperative?
Sergeant, do you know Colleen Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me about your relationship with her?
He's been dating her for 2.5 years. He admits to all the trouble I've had over the years.
Where were you last night between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m.?
Right here at the barracks, sir.
Can you confirm this?
Yes, he was on the guard post all those hours.
Was there the entire time?
Yes.
He has the perfect alibi. He's on guard duty in the United States Army in front of everybody and his brother. He could not have physically done this crime. So here we are with this guy that looks so good, and he's not the guy. This statue of him turns into sand and drains through your fingers.
With Alvin Molden in the clear, Kenda has to break the news of Colleen's death.
What? I'm sorry for your loss.
He was extremely distraught. They had a bad relationship, but he loved her deeply, and it showed.
I know this is difficult, but I need to ask you a few questions. Can you think of anyone that would want to hurt Colleen?
No, sir.
He can't imagine anybody that would do that to her. Can't imagine her being in a position to even know people that would do something like that to her.
Once Sarge kind of overcame the initial shock of the news, he was able to tell police a little bit about Colleen.
I mean, she was a store clerk. I mean, she tried her best to make ends meet.
He said that she works hard, she makes little or no money, she's barely making it.
Because of her financial status, Colleen had to live in an apartment complex that wasn't the best in the Springs, and it did have some elements of some drug activity.
Did she use drugs at all?
No, sir, she didn't.
She doesn't do drugs, she doesn't buy them, doesn't sell them, doesn't tolerate people who do. Colleen made a point to avoid the criminal element that lived in and around her building. Colleen is not a person who is causing problems for anyone.
With no indication that Colleen had any enemies, Kenda wonders if he's barking up the wrong tree.
Am I wrong to assume that Colleen is the target? What if Luis is the target? Colleen is the collateral damage, because somebody knows he's over there at her place. So now the next step. Tell me about Luis.
Kenda needs to know everything he can about Luis, and he's in luck. An officer has found a friend who was with him just before the murder.
Carla Cox is well known to Luis and spends a lot of time with him in his apartment.
It's clear to Kenda that Carla Cox is distraught over the death of her friend.
So you know something about what happened last night?
I didn't see anything, but I was with Luis last night. Colleen was having a bad day. That's a friend of ours. And he told me.
Colleen is somewhat depressed about her boyfriend and she wants to talk about Alvin, Sarge.
So he was having relationship problems, so he said, I'm going to go over and talk to her. Went over to the apartment, and I went out to my patio and I heard 3 gunshots.
So I pressed Carla a little bit, and I said, well, he's not involved with it. No. But it's not that he wouldn't do that. What do you mean?
He was a ladies' man. I mean, I guess that's why he had an ex-wife.
Carla tells Kenda that Luis is in the middle of a bitter divorce.
He gets around. Oh, yeah? Yeah. And she really got mad at him for all the women he would run with.
He was known to have extramarital relationships, to include one with an 18-year-old.
She doesn't seem to be amused by his taste in young women, particularly when he's in bed with them and she catches him at it. So now we have a new thing to think about. Do we have the jealous ex-wife? What if she decides that Luis's newest girlfriend is Colleen Johnson? And she goes over there to get even and shoots everybody. Could that be? Sure it could. So here we are. We've gone through one involvement with Colleen and her boyfriend. We've resolved that, but now we discover there's another issue with Luis.
The second shooting victim, Luis Matos, is embroiled in a bitter divorce that began when his wife caught him in bed with a younger woman.
So what if the ex-wife is tired of catching him in the rack with women other than her and decides the surest method to do that is to take him up? So now our new step is, where is ex-wifey and what is her story?
Lieutenant Kennedy, dispatch.
Dispatch to Kenda.
I need to get an address for a Cynthia Matos.
They wanted to make sure that she wasn't a scorned ex out for revenge, getting not only her husband, but apparently her husband's new girlfriend.
Go for Kenda.
Located Luis's ex-wife. She is dead, so you'll need an interpreter.
So we go over, we talk with this woman through an interpreter.
Mr. Matos, I'm sorry, but I didn't know your whereabouts between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. last night.
She was here with her children and her mom.
We have an alibi we can check out. We do, and it works. So this little deaf woman who is so quiet and reserved can explain her whereabouts quite well during the time frame of the murder. She has no opportunity. She may have motive, but you need opportunity, and that she doesn't have.
The murders haven't made the local news yet. Now it's up to Kenda to tell Cynthia about Luis's murder.
It's much more difficult to give a death notification through an interpreter. It's not the same as eye to eye, voice to voice. Hear my voice and feel me tell you that I'm sorry about the death of your loved one.
Mrs. Matos, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but Luis has passed away.
I have no idea what or how the interpreter said it, but I could see her almost physically jump as she was watching this woman's hands, telling her what I told her to tell her.
The police came to where I was living and told me that Luis was murdered, and I was just heartbroken.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
Even though Luis wasn't faithful to his wife, he was always there for their kids.
She had 2 children. They were Luis's children. Never going to grow up without a father.
Who's this little girl?
It's our daughter. And I said, hold on one moment, and I actually went and grabbed our son, and the police actually held our son. And you could see that the police were just so upset.
Cynthia tells Kenda that Luis was a wonderful dad.
In my line of work, you often encounter children who are victims of the loss of a loved one. It's always an awful thing. It absolutely fills me with resolve.
How old is he?
10 months.
I can't undo this. I can't make their father become alive. I can't do any of that. But I can take revenge for them. That I can do. We're going to do something here that needs to be done. And that's what I do.
So now what, boss? That's a good question.
We're in a quandary as to where to go next.
When you are conducting the investigation, sometimes you run out of leads, you run out of direction, and you have to go back to the beginning.
You always go back to the scene and you start fresh again.
So we continue pursuing knocking on doors. We're going to knock on every door until we get an answer from every person in this complex to see if they know anything.
3 hours into it, the officers' canvassing efforts pay off.
Hey man, how's it going? I'm Detective Bo.
A detective knocks on apartment 12 and finds a Felicia Miller who lives in this apartment.
You know anything about what went on upstairs?
The detective immediately calls me and says, "You better come down here."
So what do we got?
Felicia is in her apartment. The detective comes out in the hallway and says, "I think this is it." She is nervous and frightened and furtive eye movements back and forth. Everything about her says key witness, and everything about her body language says she's afraid, but she knows. I can feel it in my bones. This is the magic I've been looking for, and I found it behind door number 12. So here we are, we're working to no avail. We have promising things that fall apart. We have promising people that go away. But now we have found maybe, just maybe, somebody that has something to say.
Her name is Felicia Miller, and she lives in the apartment directly below the crime scene. She is also several months pregnant.
She's frightened, but she also has the look. And by the look, I mean the look of knowledge. So I sat down with her at the kitchen table and I said, "Tell me what you know about this shooting." Because you know, Felicia.
Well,
It's in your best interest to tell me what you know right now.
these girls did it.
Girls? And then stop me for a second. These girls did it? It is a rare thing for a woman to use a firearm in the commission of a crime. And she uses the word girls, plural.
What girls?
She says that the one girl's name is Chantel Davis, but everybody calls her Tang. And this other girl that runs with her is a little bit younger, and her name is Leah Tria Brown, but everybody calls her Mookie.
Then there's this guy that hangs out with them named Alan. But I don't know him that well.
So how do you know Tang and Mookie?
We met at a Red Cross shelter. And then they just showed up here. Who is it?
They come into her apartment 2 days before their shooting.
Is that Felicia? Hi, how are you? Good. Yeah, I was, want to know if we could chill here for a little bit. Okay. Listen.
Mookie, Tang, and Alan. They move in.
This is work, right? This is work out.
But when Felicia let the trio into her home, she had no idea what she was getting into.
Almost immediately, they began making crack, which Felicia hadn't bargained for at all.
They just barged in and started running their drug business.
So while we're talking, to illustrate her point, she gets up from the chair and she shows me this frying pan.
See?
That has some residue in it. She shows me a plate and a paring knife and a few other things that she said they used.
This is what I'm talking about.
The method for manufacturing crack. to take some powdered cocaine and mix it with whatever you can get your hands on. Add a little water, add high heat, and it turns into a waxy soap-like substance, a quarter-inch thick or so in the bottom of the pan. You chip that out with a pocket knife into size of about your small fingernail, and it's called a rock. That is a dose of crack.
Hey, what you want, 5 or 10, Sting?
20, fool.
They sell at the time for $20 a rock. Crack gets its name from the sound it makes when it burns. It makes a snap, crackle, pop sound. Hence the name, crack.
Tang and Mookie use drugs?
No. As far as I know, they just deal.
I've never seen them used. They just sell it. It's just for the money. That's the only reason they do it.
What else can you tell me about them?
Tang is the one in charge.
She kept describing Tang as the leader of this little crew. That whatever Tang said, everybody did. Tang's a drug dealer. Tang has a hair-triggered temper. And even Tang's criminal associates are afraid of her. And she always carried a gun.
Do you know what kind of gun?
No idea.
The fact they're using her house could draw her into criminal charges. Being pregnant, she doesn't need this stuff being cooked around her or the threat to her residence. So she's looking for a way to get them out.
Felicia tells Kenda and Butler that 2 days earlier she mustered up the nerve to tell Tang and her crew they had to leave. But Felicia got scared and decided to enlist the help of a trusted neighbor.
She considers Colleen Johnson to be a nice person and she likes her. So she goes to her for advice.
Yeah, we can talk. What's going on?
Colleen and Luis are having a couple drinks and she blurts out her story.
They're cooking drugs in my apartment, and I just want them out.
No, you need to call the cops.
I can't call the cops, then I'll be a snitch.
No, by the time the cops get there, everything will be okay. The cops will handle it for you. Don't worry about that.
They'll be in jail.
If she finds out, she'll kill me.
Both Colleen and Luis tell her, call the police. They'll show up, everybody gets arrested, they're gone, the cocaine is gone, problem solved.
Can I use your phone?
I would, but it's been turned off, sweetie.
Luis says the phone in my apartment works. Go to my apartment and use my phone.
Stop, Paul.
Okay.
Felicia says she started for Luis's apartment, but once she got to the door, she got cold feet.
On the street, the last thing you want to be known as is a snitch.
A government bill to crack down on laboratories. She does go back and talk with Mookie and Tang to try to reason with them to have them leave her apartment.
Felicia, what's up?
Yes, I mean, I can see you still coming.
I need for you to leave.
We just got here.
I'm serious.
Then, Felicia makes a fatal mistake.
She says to Tang and to Mookie and to Alan that she's talked to her friends, and they told me to call the police, and they're going to come here and arrest all of you.
I just want you all to leave.
Who you told that to?
Colleen and Louis.
Them fools upstairs?
Yeah?
She just fingered those two victims. What's Tang thinking? They know about me and the dope. They need to go away. Tang reaches into her bag, takes out her gun, sticks it in her waistband, looks at the other two.
Let's go.
And they leave the apartment.
Felicia tells Kenda she thought Tang and her crew were leaving for good. That's when she heard the gunfire in the apartment above.
She hears voices. And she hears gunshots.
What happened? Ain't nothing happened. Hey, get the door.
They grab all their stuff and they run out the door. And Felicia never sees them again.
Fearing the worst, Felicia goes to check on Colleen and Luis.
sees both of them laying there, and she is freaked.
Somebody call the police! Somebody call the police!
Now I've got the magic information. Chantel Davis, age 22, aka Tang, is most likely my killer.
Kenda knows who he's looking for. Now, the trouble is finding them.
These people are in the wind. They're running, and they're not going to stop until they get out of the state of Colorado. My mission is to find them before they kill anybody else. This woman is dangerous, period, the end. So I do something then that I rarely do. We're at the point of this investigation where it's no longer in the dark.
Hey, get the dope!
We're looking for 3 suspects on the run, and at least one of them has a gun. They've already killed twice. They wouldn't hesitate to kill again. So I've taken the nuclear option.
In my career, I have never seen Kenda do this ever before. But what he did was he called a press conference.
I'm not known as particularly friendly, so the fact that I've asked for a press conference, they think is a big deal. So they all show up in like 15 minutes.
Thank you all for coming.
Kenda has a strategy. Use the news media to convince the killers to surrender.
Bad guys watch the news. They watch, and I know they do.
Presently, we have 3 fugitives that are on the run.
I announced to the planet, radio, TV, print media, I have active arrest warrants for the crime of first-degree murder for Chantel Davis, age 22, also known as Tang.
Latria Brown, age 19, also known as Mookie. And a 3rd suspect that goes by Darryl Allen. They're considered armed and extremely dangerous.
In only true Joe Kenda style, he looks right into the camera, speaking to the suspects, and says,
If you're encountered by police, it's likely we'll shoot first and ask questions later.
If they would like to survive their encounter with the police, for their own safety, they need to surrender to me.
I won't hurt you, but I can't say the same about my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. If you're with the sound of my voice, you need to understand this.
I am life, and everything else is death. Make your choice.
Thank you. We won't be taking questions at this time.
Within 40 minutes, the phone rings. It's Chantel Davis. She's at the bus station in Colorado Springs, and Mookie is with her, and they want to surrender so the police don't kill them.
Within minutes, Kenda's men are at the bus station, ready to apprehend their suspects.
When the officers approach the bus station, they see Chantel and Mookie standing there with their hands in the air. They handcuff them and bring them to me.
Tang, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you wish to waive these rights? I need a verbal answer.
I don't know nothing about shooting people, so yeah.
Tang is mad at everybody and mad at me too. We sit and talk for a few minutes.
Do you own a gun?
No.
Have you ever owned a gun?
Yeah.
She did have a gun once, but she left it at her aunt's house when her aunt threw her out. And then she says that bitch probably pawned it.
Where were you last night?
Me and Mookie were at Big Bird's house. All day and all night.
You mean Alan Covington? Alan Covington is a person known to me who goes by the street name of Big Bird. Yes.
So you don't know anything about a shooting?
Look, I don't know what you're talking about.
But I figured the cops would shoot my ass if I didn't come in and surrender, so I did.
But I'm done talking. I want my lawyer.
All right. When she asked me for a lawyer in the interview. I said, okay, it's all done. We're all done, honey. It's extremely rare that you have a person like Tang, who is a female, who has enough nerve and enough grit to have minions under her control, Mookie and Alan. I have very seldom seen that. She is such a hard case for a 22-year-old kid. She's got eyes made out of stone.
With Tang refusing to cooperate, Kenda hopes he'll have better luck with her partner, Leatria Brown, a.k.a. Mookie.
Mookie says the same story, chapter and verse, because they rehearsed it.
Where were you last night?
Man, me and Tang were at Big Bird's.
You were there the whole time?
Yep.
Yeah? Well, we'll see about that. Leatria Brown, you're under arrest for murder. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can will be used against you in a court of law.
But Kenda knows that in order to make the charges against Tang and Mookie stick, he's going to need some more concrete evidence.
I need the gun, and I don't have one.
So he tracks down the aunt Tang mentioned in her interrogation.
We go see her. She says, oh yeah, she was here. Her and Mookie, they came here, they stayed here for a few days. I threw their ass out.
Why was that?
Cause those two girls ain't nothing but thugs.
Oh, Tang is nothing but trouble, man. That girl is mad at the world. And she said, you know that girl's got a gun? What do you know about a gun?
She keeps it in her room.
Mind if we take a look?
Go ahead, whatever.
So we search the room, we find a receipt for the gun. In her name, for a Lorcan 380 auto.
Hey, Lieutenant, have a look at that.
It's the same make and model used in the shooting.
That's the right caliber.
We find a box of 50 rounds of ammunition. It is the same brand of the expended casings we find in the crime scene. There are 31 rounds that are missing out of that box. We don't know where those 31 rounds are, but I know where 3 of them are. They were used in apartment 21.
While the discovery of the ammunition does bolster the case,
thank you, man. Sorry to bother you.
It's still largely circumstantial.
It's not enough to convict anybody of anything. I need a miracle to make this all come together, and the miracle arrives in the oddest form. It's called the truth. I get a phone call from the Sand Creek Division, one of our area commands. Said a guy just walked in here and announced that he is Daryl D. Allen.
Hey, I'm Daryl Allen. I was with Chantel Davis and Leatria Brown. I hear on the news I'm wanted for murder.
Perfect. So we blast down to the Sand Creek Division to have a heart-to-heart with our man, Daryl.
Daryl Allen represents Kenda's last, best chance to get to the bottom of what happened.
You're a real jam here, Daryl. Right now, we're thinking you did this. You tell me the truth, I might be able to help you out.
I ain't shooting nobody.
Tang did. Okay, Daryl, now we're cooking. Tell me what happened.
Daryl confirms that when Felicia Miller revealed Luis Matos and Colleen Johnson had urged her to call the cops, Tang snapped.
Let's go.
So we go upstairs to apartment 21. They knock.
What's this? I guess y'all was down at Felicia's, huh? We need to talk.
Tang never says a word. She draws the gun. And shoots Colleen in the chest. She turns the gun, shoots Luis in the shoulder. Then Tang shoots him in the chest. And he falls dead on the floor.
Oh my God! Let's go!
I forgot. Tane forced me to get rid of the gun. She had me go a couple blocks down from the apartment, toss it in this field off Arvada Street, I think.
Lieutenant, I found something.
We go up there with a team and we search the field in daylight, and within 30 minutes we find it all. So now we've taken it into ballistics, and the ballistic report comes back, says that the expended casings were fired from that gun, and all 3 of the fatal bullets were fired from that gun as well.
Now armed with physical evidence and eyewitness testimony, Kenda's case against them is airtight. Daryl Allen and Leatria Brown both plead guilty to accessory to murder. They each serve 5 years in state prison. However, Chantel Davis refuses to take a plea, but in a strange twist, her case never makes it to trial.
Chantel Davis, also known as Tang, dies in custody during an epileptic seizure. Chantel Davis knew one thing: violence. Do what I want, or I will kill you. Did I shed a tear when Chantel bought the big one? No, I didn't.
But Chantel's untimely death doesn't change the fact that she took the lives of 2 innocent people.
There were good-natured, kind-hearted people living with people who didn't care about human beings. And the collision of those lives together ended up in the deaths of Colleen and Louise.
What is probably the most important thing about this case is true innocence exposed. You have people who were trying to help somebody that lived in their building, trying to give her sound advice, and they died for it. It's the saddest thing when an innocent person dies over nothing.
A jubilant 4th of July celebration turns into a deadly rampage.
When you have a party attended by a large number of young people, and everybody's drinking the smallest spark can ignite a volcano.
Crash car, lots of blood, hysterical people, and a kid who had been transported to a hospital, and it wasn't looking good for him.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda is fighting an uphill battle against a slew of potential suspects until he uncovers a peculiar clue that sets him hot on the heels of the killer.
Nothing is ever easy. But we're going to get to this. And in the end, that LA half will be pinned to the wall in my office. You often encounter people who are participants in their own death, but I get particularly inspired when it's truly an innocent person. We're going to find out who hurt this kid, and we're going to put him away. There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
It's early morning on July 5th, but in the city of Colorado Springs, Independence Day celebrations rage on.
Colorado Springs. 4th of July is a big deal. There are a lot of different fireworks displays.
But at a convenience store on Rio Grande Street,
In 219.
a different kind of explosion rips through the air.
What the hell was that?
As the clerk came out of the store, he saw a car.
Call 911.
And a woman getting out of it, screaming.
there was a woman running around and a guy kind of falling out into her arms. And he is bleeding everywhere.
Daddy! 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 No!
Across town, Lieutenant Joe Kenda and his colleagues at the CSPD are busy coping with the fallout of another raucous Independence Day.
Police officers know it's going to be a busy night. Fireworks complaints, traffic problems all over, all the parties going on in the homes. And it's a night that everybody wishes could be their night off.
Hey, Lieutenant.
How you doing?
You want to buy some fireworks? Sell them to you cheap.
Jeez, how many of these things you bringing in?
In police headquarters buildings, you wind up with rooms full of fireworks on the 4th of July. When I was in the building that night, I was amused that the pile kept getting so much bigger so quickly with every kind of firework you can imagine.
Don't wait a match.
You got that right.
But illegal fireworks are the least of Kenda's worries.
911 got a call that there had been a shooting at a convenience store in the area of Hancock Avenue and East Rear Grand Street.
10-4, let them know I'm on the way. You guys don't have too much fun.
All right, now.
10 minutes later, Kenda arrives at the convenience store.
So what do we got?
Got a victim with a gunshot wound to the head. Was transported to the hospital. Was pronounced dead on scene.
The name of the victim?
Don Garcia.
Don Garcia is 19 years old, and Mr. Garcia has no criminal history with us, and he is a assistant cook at the Broadmoor Hotel.
Do you know how he was shot?
Witness said they were at a party up the street when a big fight broke out and a gun was pulled.
When you have a party attended by a large number of young people, and everybody's drinking, the smallest spark can ignite a volcano.
You witness anything else?
She said she was the passenger in the car and he was driving when he was shot in the head, which caused the crash.
With the examination of the victim's body already underway at the coroner's office, Kenda takes a closer look at the wrecked car.
There is no window in the door of the car, so I check the window crank. The window is intact, but it's a hot summer night. The windows are down. So the source of the bullet has got to be coming through the open window on the driver's side of the car.
Where's the witnesses in the car?
She's over here. Name is Naomi Garcia. Same last name as our victim, but there's no relation.
Naomi is being looked at by EMTs. She got a few cuts and bruises when the car hit the wall. She's very upset, which you normally find in all of these cases.
She was like shivering and her teeth were chattering, which happens with shock.
Naomi, I'm Lieutenant Kenda. I'm sorry about Don. I know it's a very difficult time, but I need your help. Can you tell me what happened?
We were at a house party. Everyone was invited.
Now, in the world of young people, the jungle drums announce the location of a party, and everybody and his brother shows up. The problem is, almost all of them are strangers to each other. That is immediately an enormous complication to me. It means that nobody knows who anybody is except for maybe a handful of people.
This is crazy.
Naomi tells Kenda that she and Don were having a good time at the party. At least until an altercation erupted.
She had been at the back of the house. When they heard there was a fight, of course, they all ran out toward the front. She wasn't able to see very much, other than she knew people were fighting.
Was Don involved in this fight at all?
No, he wasn't.
When you have a fight start in a large group, people seem to crowd around, they all want to watch. And, it obscures the view for a lot of people. It's also dark. And in this case, she couldn't provide a very good description.
But Naomi did hear one thing loud and clear. When the fight was over, the loser made it known he'd be gunning for revenge.
Nah, you're gonna regret this.
She said I heard him yell, but I never really saw the guy.
According to Naomi, right after that, the party got broken up.
The cops are coming! Get out of here!
This is getting out of control.
Naomi says that this is now the moment the party decides to disperse quickly. They don't want trouble with the police.
Naomi, come on!
She remembers getting in the car with Dawn, and other people were piling into other cars, including the car right in front of theirs.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I know. You're all right.
Lights on, the light, yeah.
And Dawn is trying to back up to get around all these cars. He's kind of blocked in a little bit. And he has to make a U-turn in the street to get out of the way of all these other cars.
But as Don and Naomi were about to make their getaway, shots rang out.
One thing I like about Naomi's story to me is that Naomi's story makes sense. You've heard me say this before. Tell me a story I'll believe. This is one I believe.
Thank you for your time. We made it to speak to you again.
After speaking with Naomi, Kenda makes his way 2 blocks north to the house where the party was thrown.
Did you find anything yet?
A little bit of blood right here on the ground.
We do find 2 small areas of blood on the sidewalk and street in front of the house. They're probably from the fight, a minor wound, so somebody received some level of injury in the fight.
How about shell casings or slugs?
Not yet. We'll keep looking.
In this case, there was no evidence of any shell casings in the scene, which could be indicative of either a revolver or, with people leaving and driving off, shell casings can get stuck in tire treads.
With scant physical evidence, Kenda turns to the neighbors to shed light on what happened.
I talked to the neighbor who lives next door, and his name is Emmett Simmons. And Emmett sees a lot of this party happen, sees the fight.
Here.
What's this?
The guy in the fight was wearing it. He ran across my yard and fell off his head.
Well, that's a connection. So now we have a piece of physical evidence that connects to this guy. Is it going to be useful to us? Maybe. Maybe not.
Can you describe him?
No, sir. I didn't really get a good look at him.
Can you tell me anything about him at all?
No, sir. I should probably talk to Pete.
Who's Pete?
Pete's the one who keeps throwing the parties.
Thank you.
So I go over and meet Pete Mendez.
Mind if I talk to you for a minute?
Listen, man. If you're here to give me some sort of lecture about throwing parties, save it.
What a charming guy. I hated him 15 seconds into the meeting.
When somebody dies at that party, it becomes my business.
Look, I have nothing to say to you, buddy.
No, who are you? You're some angry, confrontive guy? He's behaving exactly wrong, in my opinion. And I look down at him and he's got fresh blood on him, on his undershirt.
What's that on your shirt?
Where?
Right there.
So now, all of a sudden, despite hating him, he really interests me. Exactly who are you, Petey boy? And what do you have to do with this? giant party that takes place on the 4th of July. It results in somebody getting shot when they're trying to flee this party after a fight happens.
We need to know who was involved in the fight. Shooting could be a natural progression from that physical confrontation.
We're dealing with a lot of vague information that suddenly becomes very focused on an individual named Pete Mendez, who has blood in his clothes, and he has a very bad attitude. Now we got a place to go.
Why don't you come with me?
Where?
Just come with me. This way.
When you encounter somebody like this, he's on his turf. He's standing on his front porch. I want him on my front porch.
Have a seat.
You kidding me?
You take him from where he's familiar, confrontive, and angry, and make him worry a little bit.
There's like blood on your shirt, Pete. You want to tell me about it?
He realizes the bad guy act didn't cut any ice with me, and now he's sitting in the back of that car staring at his shirt.
It's a stain. I just put this shirt on a few minutes ago.
I'll tell you what. I think we need to take that and have it tested. Find out whose blood that is.
I've got to either keep him or let him go. To keep him, I have to find some way I can demonstrate that he was one of the two people in the fight. So with the witnesses we have remaining, we start questioning them individually.
As his men question eyewitnesses about Pete's involvement, Kenda continues to pepper him with questions.
Were you involved in a fight?
No. Those are two other guys.
These two other guys, you want to tell me about them?
Okay. Well, let's see. They were white. No, wait. They were black. Second thought, maybe they were...
Well, you forgot Asian. Peter could have been Asian, right? It's all part of his shtick. He wants all his friends to see him stand up to the man, all the crap that goes through these people's heads. Of course, it helps you have an IQ under 80. These things seem important to you. So to him, that's all that matters.
Lieutenant, can I speak with you a minute?
So what is it?
Witnesses are saying that Pete Mendez wasn't involved in the fight. Apparently he was in the backyard when it broke out.
So maybe what he's guilty of is his attitude and nothing else. There's nothing we can connect him to. So I have no way or reason to hold on to him any further.
You're free to go.
Thanks for wasting my time.
Hey, Pete. Sure hope there isn't any underage drinking going on at your little get-togethers. I wouldn't want to waste your time in front of a judge.
So now I'm back to nothing. We're running out of avenues to pursue here. So my next step is, well, let's go look at the body. Maybe there's something there that can tell me something.
At the hospital morgue, Kenda gets his first look at victim Don Garcia.
He has no marks on him, except for a small gunshot wound 1 inch above the ear.
Unfortunately, we can't extract the bullet.
Why was that?
You can see from the x-ray.
This round, when it went through the skull, fragmented into little tiny pieces. Massive internal damage to the brain from all this basically shrapnel inside his head. But the result is that there's no way to identify the pistol.
I believe he died instantly.
So I'm thinking what I was thinking earlier. That round comes through an open window and hits him in the head. He snaps his head forward and dies before he ever gets to that convenience store. And I'm still beginning to believe that he is not the intended victim of this crime.
Is there anything else I should know?
Unfortunately, that's it.
Despite all of our effort, our spinning our wheels in the dirt, we got nothing. The only thing we have for sure is Mr. Garcia in the morgue.
Who's this guy?
Mike Anderson. He's here to identify the body.
In most cases like this, we will usually try to get a family member or a close friend to come to identify the body, just to make sure we do have who the people think he is. Mike?
Yeah.
Lieutenant Kemper, mind if I ask you a few questions?
Not at all.
Mike Anderson is married to Don Garcia's cousin. He knows Don well.
Were you at the party when you got shot?
No, I didn't go.
Do you know why he was at the party?
He had a lot of friends and a lot of family. He loves the 4th of July.
There's absolutely no indication in any of the information Anderson provides that would indicate that Don Garcia is an enemy on this planet or that he has ever done anything to elicit someone's anger.
He was a pretty clean-cut kid. He was a hard worker, was very well liked in the community. You know, he had a really supportive family. His mother adored him.
He was very special. He is very, very compassionate about people. He would give the shirt off his back if he could.
Don was described as being a very social person, very friendly person, had some artistic capabilities and drawings.
He loved art. Art was probably the way he expressed himself the most, because once he would start drawing, he would literally fall into it. He poured his soul into it.
In addition to art, Don loved a good party. According to Mike Anderson, Independence Day was one of Don's favorite days of the year.
He loved the 4th of July. He loved to see the fireworks in the air. The 4th of July was a fun time around here for us. We knew where to go and how to have fun.
He had a lot of cousins that were going to be at the party, a bunch of friends. So he had a holiday evening in a great setting with people that he loved.
There's no way that he could have provoked someone so much that they want to kill him. He's just not that kind of guy. I believe you.
Knowing who Don Garcia is now is even more distressing to me. Mr. Garcia is an innocent person. His crime is going to a 4th of July party.
You know any other people that were at the party?
Some are in the waiting room right now. Thank you.
Now, as usual in murder cases, speed is important. So let's scoop up these people in this emergency room waiting area to see what somebody knows that can tell us that could be useful. It's pretty easy to identify the partygoers. They're the ones that are drunk. They're the ones that are 19, 20, and 21. And they're all together.
Scanning the group, one individual catches his eye.
I see this one guy standing there with a mouse in his eyes swollen and bruised, and he's got a fresh cut in his lip.
Mind if I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Lenny Quintana?
I believe he's my other guy that's in the fight.
Mind telling what happened to your face, Lenny?
All of a sudden, I have a guy who has been in a fight, who has been in an altercation at this party. Now I think we're getting somewhere. This guy could lead me in a direction I need to go. We're investigating the murder of Don Garcia at this giant party. The whole time we're trying to find out who's in this fight. We know that the fight has got to be a key element in this killing. And I just found the guy that's in the fight, and his name is Lenny Quintana. Maybe he's going to help us get to the bottom of who killed Don.
Do you mind telling what happened to your face, Lenny?
Yeah, I got into it with a guy at a 4th of July party.
365 day and night, I labor. I'm a Jedi Knight, my words are lightsabers.
Lenny tells Kenda that the party was a good time. Until some guys he'd never seen before crashed it.
Yo, 81st Street Crips in it.
He said he's announcing he belongs to the 81st Street Crips here in Colorado Springs. Now, there is no 81st Street in Colorado Springs. Most of these people aren't members of anything.
What the hell was that?
Just rapping, man. It's a party. Having a good time.
Rapping? Oh, that's what you call that? Those ain't the words.
this guy? Can you describe him?
Nah, I don't know. He's a white guy, 6 feet tall, young, maybe 22. He had a white LA cap on.
That just clicked.
Here. The guy on the fire was wearing it.
I happen to have an LA hat in evidence right now that Emmett Simmons gave me that said it came off the head of the shooter.
So you got into it about rap lyrics. What happened?
I have to go to my car, and I go, and as soon as I come back, boom.
Yeah. What's Lenny got?
Lenny's response was obviously to fight back in self-defense.
Let's roll. Hey, you gonna regret this.
Then after that, him and his boys start tearing down the street, and I already got jumped once. I figure it's a good idea, and I tell my buddy, hey, let's leave.
But Lenny tells Kenda that as he was leaving, someone began to shoot at his car.
Did you see who did the shooting? Was it the same guy you were fighting with?
I don't know. We were just trying to haul ass out of there.
Did you see Don when you were leaving?
No, but I know he was parked behind me.
There's the explanation. Lenny is the target. He's in the act of trying to get away. And so is Dawn. And one of the shots that our LA hat guy has fired has missed Lenny and his car and took Dawn in the head without any intent to so do.
While Lenny appears to be telling the truth, Kenda isn't taking any chances.
Lenny says he's one of 2 people involved in a fight that produces somebody with a gun. He says it's the other guy. Of course, if I was the guy with the gun, I would say it was the other guy too. Is he a guy who's lying to me on purpose?
It's not that I don't believe you. I need to make sure that you weren't involved in this.
Yeah, do whatever you need to do. I didn't shoot anybody.
We run a GSR test, and Lenny's clean. Test is negative, completely negative, not even a trace. Lenny's truthful.
One more thing before I let you go. You said you were getting into your car with a friend?
John Harden.
You know how I can contact him?
Yeah, it's right over there.
That's him?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. John Harden?
Yes, sir.
Can I talk to you for a minute about what happened?
Sure thing.
John Harden's version of what happened is nearly identical to Lenny Quintana's.
Everybody is cool at the party until these 4 show up.
He says the worst of them is this dude in the LA hat, and that he's the guy with the gun that was shooting at Lenny.
Are you sure it's the same guy that was in the fight?
Oh, yeah. I'm positive.
Can you describe it for me?
I can do better than that. I can give you his name.
What? How do you know his name? I did time with him in a county jail. We were in jail together, but he got probation and he got out. So he's not exactly from LA, is he? I said, no, he's not from LA. He's from here. That's why he was in a county jail.
So what's his name?
His first name is Troy.
So now I have something to run with. I've gone from white LA hat to white LA hat with a guy named Troy under it.
With John Harden's statement in tow, Kenda heads to the El Paso County Criminal Justice Center.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Lieutenant, how are you, sir?
Good. Do you mind running the first name Troy through your database? He's incarcerated between those dates.
So we pull up the adult probation list based on when John was in the county jail, so we know approximately when probation was granted to our man Troy, our suspect in this case.
There you go, sir.
We pull up a list and what do we find?
Crap.
32 guys named Troy. 32? It's like, God, is everybody named Troy that ever got arrested? So now we have to play the game, deciding which one of those 32 is Mr. L.A. Hat.
You might help me sort through these? Sure. It's going to be a long night.
That's what it takes, sir.
Nothing is ever easy, but we're going to get to this. And in the end, that L.A. Hat's going to be pinned to the wall in my office. So here we are. We've gone from looking for Mr. X in the darkness to where now the sun's up. We've taken this group of hundreds of partygoers down to one, who I have a first name of, and his name is Troy, and now I have a list of first names. One of them is going to be our guy. We are on our way. Now the challenge becomes we have to find the right Troy. If you're probated, we have mugshots of you. There's photos of all 32 Troys. And we have two people that say they can identify. So we certainly have a place to begin.
All right, Bill, let's see which one of these Troys is ours.
We start eliminating based on known associates.
Should we try Carson?
Confining the times as to when who is in jail with who. Because our man, John, our witness, says he was in custody with this guy, Troy.
How about Duvall? Was he in custody?
So we're able to eliminate a number of those Troys who weren't in custody in the time frame John was. So that gets the number smaller.
This guy has 46, so it can't be it.
Then we start eliminating based on physical description, and that's an even smaller group.
All right, let's see what we got. All right.
We have an opinion of who our man is, but our opinion doesn't matter. We have to have positive ID. We want it from Lenny, we want it from John that he is the shooter. So we make up photo lineups containing these few guys, and we show them these lineups, one after another.
Which one do you want first? They're both outside. Bring in Lenny. He claims he's in the fight with this guy. All right.
When you build a photo lineup, color rules at the time were 6 photographs of people of similar or like appearances.
Photo lineups can be hit or miss, and it is remarkable how much people can look alike, even totally unrelated people.
No, I don't see him.
No, what's your name?
Nope.
I got another setup for you.
Yeah, that's him.
You sure that's him?
Yeah, that's the maniac that punched me in the face.
Thank you. We had him circle that, initial it, time and date, thank him for his cooperation. We let him sit outside for a minute. We bring in John.
Take your time. Tell him if you recognize anyone here.
Right there, number 4, that's Troy.
Are you positive?
No doubt, I'd know him anywhere.
So now we take that picture out and we turn it over. And on the back is the name of our winner.
Troy Eugene Hartwick, age 20.
Who is he? He is a criminal. Among his other talents, he is a wannabe gang member. He's on the wannabe list. He's not a member of a gang, but he likes to tell everyone he is.
His suspect now positively ID'd. Kenda's next objective is to secure some FaceTime with Troy Hartwick.
We're going to this address because that's his last known address. We're going there. Who we find in this house is his mother and his brother.
Is Troy at home?
Why are you looking for Troy?
I have reason to believe he's involved in a shooting.
My Troy? I don't think so. You've got the wrong Troy. Why don't you try looking somewhere else?
They present attitude that they don't like the police, and how dare we say that Troy did anything wrong. He's always being falsely accused of things. But her boy wouldn't shoot anybody.
He doesn't live here anymore. I haven't seen him in days.
When was the last time you saw him?
Night of the 4th of July. He came over looking to borrow some money. I don't know where he's at.
Mind if I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah, I guess.
Want to step out here?
He doesn't know where he's at either.
Yeah, his brother's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So where's he at?
You might want to talk to one of Troy's friends, Fred.
Who's Fred?
Fred Burton. He was with Troy and those guys at the party.
Thank you.
It surprised me that they'd give us the name of somebody. Because we haven't gotten anything out of these people, and all of a sudden we get a name. That may lead us somewhere in terms of our search.
Kenda returns to his vehicle and contacts the station.
Lieutenant Kenda, dispatch.
Dispatch to Kenda.
I need to run a name for me. Fred Burton, just like it sounds.
Moments later, Kenda receives a surprising response.
Go for Kenda.
You're gonna love this. Fred Burton, he's sitting in our jail.
He's in our hotel. How convenient.
He just got picked up today. He's in
Perfect. I'll be right there. 10 out.
He just got arrested. So he probably hasn't bonded yet. He probably hasn't even tried to bond out. He's gonna be there. Today's our lucky day.
After a round-the-clock hunt for 19-year-old Don Garcia's killer, Lieutenant Joe Kenda has finally pinned down his prime suspect.
We've identified our suspect as Troy Eugene Hartwick. We have no way to know at this moment where he is. But I've just learned that his friend, Fred, is currently in jail. Perfect. He may know exactly where he is.
Go. Seen it?
This is Fred Burton.
It is, sir. Open 6.
Fred Burton has a couple criminal charges that are fairly serious against him at this time. The DA is willing to work with him on those if he's truthful with us into what occurred and what led up to the shooting and who was possibly involved in that shooting.
I ain't telling you anything. I ain't no rat.
We appreciate the fact that you are a loyal, upstanding guy. But you know, in case you haven't looked around in the last 30 seconds, you're in jail. Still that loyal to everybody?
I'm gonna ask you to be a snitch. I'm asking you to help yourself. Look where you are.
What do you want to know?
Why don't you start by telling me how you celebrated the 4th of July?
Me, Troy, and a couple of guys were at the park, not doing a lot. And Troy came up with an idea in his head that he wanted to go to some party and put some work in for the hood.
Working for the hood.
I know what it means, but I wanted Fred to tell me what it meant.
You know, work for the hood, something to impress the Crips.
Putting work in for the hood means that you are willing to demonstrate that you will commit acts of violence. It's all part of the mentality of gangs.
So Troy was in a gang?
No, but he would have did anything to get out.
Anybody like Troy that feels they need to become part of a gang, they're looking for somewhere to belong.
That kid is seeking what every kid seeks. Love, acceptance, discipline, a sense of purpose. All the things that people want that they're not getting at home.
According to Fred, at approximately 1 a.m. on July 5th, he, Troy, and 3 other friends decided to crash Pete Mendez's 4th of July party.
What you doing with that? You'll see. Troy has his piece, but he leaves it in the car.
That didn't stop Troy from stirring up trouble once inside.
Yo, 81st Street Crips in there. I'm a Jedi Knight, no words or lightsabers. Yo, I'm up and imitated, never duplicated. Sit back, relax, and let your mind get stimulated. Round of applause, cause I'm the showstopper. Burger King.
Fred has been telling us how Troy has worked himself into a frenzy all day long about being a member of a gang, and he's going to start some.
What? Yeah, drinking this bitch? Yeah, hell yeah. Let's get us something to drink, huh?
He doesn't need a reason. He's going to create one to start some trouble in this party.
According to Fred, Troy singled out Don Garcia's friend, Lenny Quintana, who was entertaining partygoers by singing along to a popular hip-hop album.
Yo, what the hell was that? Rapping. We're at a party. Is that what you call that? Nah, that ain't rap.
Relax, alright, man. It's a 4th of July party. Everyone's having a good time.
Nah. Don't tell me what to do, alright? You better recognize here. Those ain't the right words.
Alright.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
In an effort to defuse the situation, Lenny stepped outside to grab some air. But that didn't stop Troy from terrorizing other guests.
What you looking at? Huh?
It wouldn't have mattered if everybody in that party was a priest. Troy was going to find a reason to hate them and work himself up even further until he attacked one of them. And that's exactly what happened.
Fred Burton tells Kenda that Troy eventually tracked Lenny down outside and picked a fight.
Lenny, ladies and gentlemen. Shit. You there, Troy?
Troy's problem is he's more of a legend in his own mind than he is in reality.
What's Lenny got?
up, he proceeds to kick Troy's ass.
Nah. 81st Street, don't forget. You're gonna regret it.
As Troy fled the scene, word filtered through the party that someone had called the police.
The cops are coming!
People were going separate ways. Don was getting in his car. He was immediately behind Lenny's, and they were preparing to leave.
But apparently Troy wasn't ready to leave. He had a score to settle.
What's wrong with that?
He's got a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol.
Forget it, man. Let's go.
And Fred says that Troy is like out of his mind.
Troy!
Fred says Troy doesn't even respond to that because he's already made up his mind. The last time Fred sees him, he's running down the street blasting away at these people. We have absolute proof from Fred, an eyewitness and participant in this event, that this case had absolutely nothing to do with Don Garcia. Lenny was the intended target. Troy's so stupid he can't even kill the right guy. He kills the wrong guy. But then again, he doesn't care who he kills, which is what makes him so dangerous. Don dies for the worst of reasons, for the twisted mind's eye view of an idiot who believes that killing is required so he can achieve the selfish emotions he wants so badly.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm talking about. Putting in for the street, man. Oh, I think I lost my hat.
Yeah, you did, Troy. Your neighbor found it and he gave it to me.
You gotta give her that gun. What happened to the guy? We ditched it in the woods or something. I don't know where it's at.
So I said, Fred, so here's the magic question. Where is he?
Your guess is good as mine. You have any idea where he is? Florida. I don't know where in Florida, I just think Florida.
Skipping town is commonly done. It doesn't mean we're going to stop looking, and it doesn't mean we're not going to find you because we are.
Kenda inputs Troy's name into the FBI's national database, alerting law enforcement across the country that Troy Hartwick is a wanted man.
If he gets stopped for going through a stop sign, shoplifting, it doesn't make any difference. Police make contact with him for any reason at all. They run his name, and they'll come up wanted for first-degree murder.
2 months pass, and there's still no sign of Troy. Finally, police in Brookville, Florida, hit pay dirt.
Sir, may I see your ID?
They have stopped Troy Eugene Hartwick for going 96 miles an hour and speeding because the rules don't matter to Troy. He's a criminal.
Your suspect has 1017 from El Paso County, Colorado, for first-degree murder.
Oops. Troy, it turns out we're going to stick guns in your face and arrest you for murder in Colorado.
Driver, let me see your hands. Open the door from the outside. Hands behind your back.
Troy Hartwick is placed under arrest and extradited back to Colorado. 7 months later at trial, he is convicted of first-degree murder for the shooting of Don Garcia. The judge sentences him to life in prison.
Poor old Donnie Garcia was truly in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was just the stupidest of all stupid crimes, because it's just about hubris. Hubris and the availability of a gun.
Here's a completely innocent victim being killed by somebody believing that doing this was going to get him into the gang.
My brother was so outgoing. he was literally growing into the man that he wanted to be. So that's what's so hard is he never made 20 years old. And as long as I think about him and mention his name and talk about him like this, he will always be alive.
No one expects the celebration of Independence Day to turn badly. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be the birth of our nation. It's supposed to be all those things. But what is it now? A bad memory for lots and lots of people. And a loss of a valuable life in exchange for what? Nothing. Nothing at all.